Hi, you're listening to Kate Palmer from sparkletart.com.
Today I'm going to be showing you a background using the beautiful Moonshadow Mists from Lindy's Stamp Gang and the brand new Delicata ink pad. Now, I've gone through a lot of gold ink pads. So far this is my favourite. Previously the Stays on Gold was, but I found that tarnished a little over time and the ink went a little bit sticky, but that could just be me. I live in a really humid environment and it's really harsh on some supplies. This stuff so far, even though I've only had it for a little while, is performing beautifully. When used in conjunction with the Moonshadow Mists, it makes a super yummy background. So have a look at this and let me know what you think. I really like the way this turned out. Now all you'll need is a piece of plain smooth white cardstock. I often get people say, oh, what kind of cardstock are you using, Kate? The cheap stuff. Oh, honestly, for a background technique, unless you're using something that specifically requires a watercolor card, then all you really need is something cheap and smooth. So for me, cheap cardstock, smooth white, it doesn't have to be anything special for any of these. So just go pick up something and see how it performs. Some of them pill. You'll find that as you work ink across them, sometimes when they're wet, the cardstock pills. If you find that, then just use it for stamping and not for wet techniques. Shake up all of the Lindy's sprays so that you have a nice amount of mica distributed evenly through the bottle. Now the three colours I'm working with today are Ethereal Emerald. This one has a name that's kind of hideous, but no offense to Lindy or Tracy, but Bucket of Blood Red, ooh, creepy. And this one's Mystic Malachite, which is probably one of my favorites. So I'm going to start with the Ethereal Emerald. And what you want to do is just spray. You can cover the whole piece, it doesn't really matter. Just enough so that you've got some colour on there. Next I'm going to go in with the Bucket of Blood Red and add this in more concentrated patches. Now to do that I often just get right up close to the cardstock and either squirt lots of little bits or overlapping bits. So I'll sort of squirt that about over 30%. Next is the Mystic Malachite. That's my last colour and I'm just going to use this to add little dribbles. So I'm half depressing the sprayer. You could even take the sprayer off and just sort of flick it on for this. Now you could do sweeping motions if you wanted to have a more uniform kind of colour, but I really love the way that you can get sort of patches in the finished product by applying this the way I have. And now you need to leave it to air dry. And this is what the background looks like when it's dry. You can see it's got that beautiful vintage brown colour from the Moonshadow Mist and also has the amazingly gorgeous shimmer colours. So this one has a couple of different greens and in lesser areas red because I didn't add quite so much of that. The darker areas are where I let it pull as it dried and the ink and the colour concentrates. So this is what it looks like up close. And you can see the distinctly different colours. Makes a gorgeous background. So what I've done, I've cut it into small squares which are 10 centimetres by 10 centimetres. And I'm going to stamp my main image right over the background here. I'm lining it up roughly in the middle and using a stamp positioner to make sure I don't muck it up. I'm using Archival Jet Black ink from Ranger and the beautiful Poinsettia stamp from Stampington Co. And you're left with a lovely crisp image in the middle of your piece of card. The next step is to add a little bit more interest to the background. So to begin with, I'm going to use the Versafine Vintage Sepia pad and this beautiful holly stamp from Paper Inspirations, and it's just called Art Brush Holly. Now I'm using the brown on the brown background so that it's not too dark. I really want that central image to stand out, and anything too strong would be completely overpowering here. That's just added, it almost looks like a watermark effect. For the next little step, I'm going to use the new Delicata Golden Glitz ink pad. And what I've done is I've cut out a little template that's the same size as my stamp, just to act as a mask. So I'm placing the mask over the stamped image because I don't want it to go over the top. And then I have a really lovely open text stamp. Now, it's written in such a way that you can't actually read the writing, which is perfect for what I'm after here. I'm just looking for something to add a little bit of sparkle, but without taking over. Now, I have to say I'm sort of in love with this Delicata ink pad. It's one of the first pads that I've had, and I've bought them all, that's gold and that stays true to colour. Now, I have another one that I quite like, the gold metallic stays on, but I find that it tarnishes. So again, I've just got this little piece of paper as a mask covering my image, and I'm just going to stamp right over the top of that. There's a tiny little bit at the base here that I've missed, so I'm just going to go back in and stamp that one more time. In some lights you can't really see the gold, but then you tilt, and isn't that gorgeous? Yum, isn't that beautiful? I just love this over the top of the Moonshadow Mists, and it's so crisp and clear. Now my next step is I've used this gorgeous little holly leaf stamp from Stampington Co, and I've just watercoloured it really quickly, and I now have to cut this out. I've added some colour to all of my little poinsettia flowers, and now I'm just going to add a little bit of Glitz Spritz in Medieval Gold. It's just a really fine layer that I'm adding, and I am allowing a few spots to fall. But then the next thing I'm also going to do is pat it with a paper towel so that I don't get too much colour. And now these also have a little bling. And this is the card all put together. Now, admittedly, it's a simple Christmas card, but honestly, when you have to make 30 of them, you don't want it to be too fussy. It's simple but elegant. So I've got my Moonshadow Mist background. Check the sparkle on the background. Isn't that yum? And that Delicata ink is just perfect with those Moonshadow Mists and all of the sparkle from my sprays. See how that's standing out? It's really holding its own against that gorgeous sparkly background. And of course, I've got my little watercoloured poinsettia. In this area, you can see that faint shadow from the stamping I've done using the Versafine ink over the Moonshadow, just to give it a little bit more texture. You can see the little holly there. And when you tilt it, you've got the gorgeous colours from the mists and that Delicata ink pad. Now I've masked off that central image and then adhered my coloured image over the top. You can see I've got the Glitz Spritz in Medieval Gold just over the top there, and that doesn't have any colour of its own, it's just shimmer. So it's great to spray over other colours because it doesn't change them at all. And then just on the little holly berries, a little bit of glossy accents to finish off. So I hope you like my Christmas card for 2011 using Lindy's Stamp Gang products, the beautiful new Delicata ink pad, and the lovely stamp from Stampington Co. Merry Christmas everyone, or Happy Holidays.
Thanks so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye.